Welcome to this webinar on how to use Cubase, Steinberg's flagship digital audio workstation delivered by the ISM Trust. My name is Dom Sigalas, I'm the product specialist for Steinberg in the UK, and I'm really pleased to be here today to show you how you can start creating music in Cubase. I'm going to guide you through the setup process and then show you how you can start recording audio, MIDI, use virtual instruments, how to use the composition tools inside Cubase, and finally, how to enhance your recordings through mixing and export a WAV or MP3 file for sharing with family, friends, or even online, for example, on SoundCloud. Let's get started. The first thing you see when you launch Cubase is the Steinberg Hub. And this is a very interesting window because there are quite a few things that you can do on this window. On the left-hand side, we have news. So in this place, you can be updated on the latest news, the latest updates for Cubase, for the audio interfaces, for special offers. We also have the new features tab that show you quite a few things about the latest version of the program. For example, here in Cubase, it talks about the latest additions like the metronome, the 60-bit mix engine, and so on and so forth. The quick start gives you some really interesting video tutorials so that you can watch and you can start using Cubase like this. It's very, very useful. And of course, there are some trials if you want to try out some software from Steinberg. Now on the right-hand side, it's the project section. Right here, you can find quite a few templates. And that's really useful because basically you can say, I want a recording template. I know that I'm going to record. And right here you will find quite a few templates that allow you to be set up and ready to go for a specific recording scenario. For example, you might want to record an acoustic guitar and vocal, or maybe you want to record piano and vocal. Loading that preset will give you the correct settings and the proper audio channels or MIDI channels to do just like that. Then we have the scoring presets. Again, very, very useful if you're going to use the scoring function in Cubase. And as you can see, there are quite presets like this, like the big band page layout. You have the classical orchestra from Beethoven and so on and so forth. Then we have the production templates. These are really great if you want to start producing into a very specific music genre like jazz production, metal production, pop production, R&B, and so on and so forth. They will give you relevant instruments to do that. And then we have mastering templates, which allow you to basically use Cubase as a mastering program so you can finalize your recordings and make them ready for digital distribution or for release. Now, in this webinar, I'm going to use an empty template that has nothing loaded, just so I can show you the exact procedure on how to create your own audio channels, your own MIDI channels. So let's start with that. The very first thing you need to do to keep things neat and tidy is select a folder to store your Cubase project. This will prevent things from getting really messed up later on if you're missing audio files and all these things. Keeping things tidy, it's the very first step. So in order to do that, just go right here, see in the very bottom, use default location, and just go to project folder and create a new folder. Cubase will do everything for you, so you don't have to go into the Finder or Windows Explorer and create the folder yourself. So let's say I want to name this folder ISM Webinar. And the only thing I need to do now is click on Create. And there we go. Here we have a completely empty Cubase project. Right here, I can start adding my channels. I can start adding my audio channels, my MIDI channels, my VST instrument channels. But before we go through this, I want to show you how you can set up your audio interface so that it works with Cubase. That's the way to get sound out of Cubase and out of any DAW for that matter. So let me show you how you do this. In Cubase 9.5, what you need to do is go to Studio and then go to Studio Setup. There are quite a few options here, but what really concerns you is this selection right here, the VST audio system. And this is where you select the audio interface that you're going to use with Cubase, because on a PC or a Mac, you can have multiple interfaces. You can have the built-in interface that's built into your motherboard or your laptop. And of course, you can have like an external interface, a USB audio interface like I'm using right here, which is more professional, will give you better quality, and that's what you should select for Cubase. In this case, I'm using the Steinberg UR22 Mark II. This is a USB audio interface. It's a really high quality audio interface. It has 2 mic preamps, which means you can immediately record audio straight into Cubase, be it with a dynamic microphone or be it with a condenser microphone that requires phantom power, so it needs to be powered to work. So what you need to do is go to ASIO driver and right here select your audio interface. See, I have selected the Steinberg UR22 Mark II, but of course my laptop, my MacBook Pro also has a built-in audio interface. I don't want to use this. I want to use the professional audio interface that I have in my system. Of course, if built-in audio is all you have, then of course you can select this, no problem. But in this case, I'm going to select Steinberg UR22 Mark II. And Cubase is going to ask you, do you want to switch to the ASIO driver? Say yes, switch, and then click OK. And you're good to go. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to go to Studio again and go to Audio Connections, or just press F4 on your keyboard. Now, here is where you can set up your inputs, your outputs, so that you can listen to what comes out of Cubase, and of course select your inputs so that you can record into Cubase. So under inputs, you will see that Cubase has already created a stereo input for us, and as you can see, this is the UR22 Mark II input 1 and UR22 Mark II input 2. So in actual fact, on my UR22 Mark II, indeed there are only 2 inputs, the 2 microphone inputs in the front. Now, on the output section, I need to select the outputs for my UR22 Mark II. So I'm going to select Steinberg UR22 Mark II, and there we go. Now we have our outputs set up as well. So right now we should be ready to go. We have sound coming out of the outputs because we have connected our audio interface to Cubase's outputs, and we have inputs so we can record into Cubase. So inputs is where we take care of the recording part of Cubase, and outputs is our monitoring, how we can hear sound from Cubase. Now that we've set all this up, we can start setting up our project. Let's say we want to record something into Cubase. The way to do this is record audio. Let's say we want to record some audio into Cubase. Audio could be a microphone, it could be a synth, it could be a guitar, it could be anything that requires a physical input. So let's say I want to record my voice into Cubase as we speak right now. What I need to do is press on this plus symbol right here, and you can see that it says add track. So I can click on that and I can add an audio track. Audio track is exactly what I described previously. It could be a microphone, it could be a synthesizer, it could be any input that you would connect on your interface. So let's go and add an audio track. And now Cubase gives me a few options. It asks me, do you want it to be a stereo track? A stereo audio track would be a synthesizer that has left and right. It could be a turntable that also has left and right. It could be a piano, and sometimes with pianos we record them with 2 microphones so that we can get a very wide stereo image of the instrument. In this case, I'm going to record my voice as I speak right now, so I'm going to select mono just because this is a single microphone and it's a mono source. So let me call this voiceover and add track. And as you can see right here, I have my audio track right there. So in order to record, what I can do is just record enable the track. What does that do? This basically enables the track and it makes it ready for recording. You might have quite a few tracks. Let me show you. Let me add a few more. I'm going to add 5 different audio channels. And of course, I need to let Cubase know what track I'm going to record on. So I could record on audio 5, I could record on audio 3, or I could record on all of them at the same time. Maybe you have an interface that has 8 microphone inputs. You can record all of them at the same time in Cubase. But in this case, I want to record just on the voiceover channel. So let me get rid of those for now. We don't need them. And let's record on this channel. Now, before we record, we have to make sure that we are recording the correct input. So on the left hand side, you will see the inspector right here. Here you can select quite a few things, but what concerns us right now is the input stage. So this is the input. See this kind of little arrow that goes in? That is my input. So I have left and right. And I know that my microphone is the input number 1, which is the left input. If I had my microphone connected on input number 2, I would select right. So right now I'm on the correct input. Usually that will be very easy to do if you don't have multiple inputs. But if you have an interface that has multiple inputs, then you have to really pay attention to this and make sure you have the correct input selected. So right now I am on left, and now I can start recording. Before I do that, let me show you how I can get a proper level inside Cubase. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the mixer, and in order to do that, you just click on this icon right here that has these miniature faders. It says Open Mix Console. So let's open that. And you can see my input right there. As you can see, right now I am peaking at -12 dBs, as you can see right over there. That's a very healthy level. Now, if I go a little bit louder, you will see that I can reach up to -6. What you really don't want to happen is to clip the input, so that you don't want it to go over 0. That's gonna be a digital clipping, which is really not pleasant, and you shouldn't really do that. So make sure that you're around -12. So if your interface has a gain knob like the UR22 Mark II, just make sure you adjust this so that you get a healthy level like this. So perfect. I think we're good now. I'm going to close the mixer by pressing the X symbol right here. And now I'm going to record. Now, how do we start recording? In Cubase 9.5, we have the transport bar right here at the very bottom. So you're never going to lose it. It's always right there. Now, all I need to do is just hit record, and now I can start recording my voice. And as you can see, the waveform is drawing itself straight away in real time. So I can see exactly what happens with my audio recording. So the waveform will also tell me if there's noise. So if I stop talking for a second, you will see that I have a little bit of noise right there. That's totally fine. But I can see that my level is healthy, it's not peaking, and I can see what's going on. So when I hit stop, now we can stop recording, and now I can play back exactly what I recorded. Let me show you. Now I can start recording my voice. And as you can see, the waveform is drawing itself straight away. So as you can see, it's very easy to record inside Cubase. This could easily be a vocal, a guitar, it could be a synthesizer. And once the audio is inside Cubase, we can do so many things with it. So we can basically add effects to it, we can mix it, we can clean it up, we can enhance the frequencies of a recording. It's very, very powerful. The other thing that we can do is we can move stuff around. So if I want, for example, to take this and move it around, I can just do it like that. I can get my scissors tool and cut in various places like this, and then I can move things around very, very easily. Now, if you ever want to undo an action in Cubase, it's very easy. You just go Edit and you click Undo, and it will undo your previous action. So this is my audio recording. This is just a voiceover, but of course we can record any instrument or sound that we want. Now let me try and record an instrument. I have here a synthesizer. This is a Yamaha MIDI X, and I'm going to select a piano sound, and I'm going to record inside Cubase. So in this case, I'm going to mute this voiceover that I just recorded. So I just have to click on this M button right here, and I can mute it so it won't play back when I hit play. So let me add another track, another audio track, and let's keep it mono, and I'm going to record a piano. I have the MIDI X right here, the new synthesizer from Yamaha, and I'm going to use a piano sound so that I can show you how you can alter the sound after the fact, after you've already recorded it. So let me select a piano sound and let's start recording. Now I have connected the MIDI X on my second input, so instead I'm going to select right here, and now we can see our piano sound right there. So can you see it? It's on the left channel I have my voice, and on the right channel I have the synthesizer. So let's try and record a simple piano part. So now we have the audio in Cubase. Let's see what we can do with it. I'm going to play it back. Now the very first thing I can do is add a nice reverb to this piano sound. How can I do this, and what is reverb? Reverb basically puts the sound inside a space. So it could be in a concert hall, it could be in a room, it could be in a chamber, in a piano hall, all these things. So let me show you how you can do this in Cubase. Now what you need to do is you need to press on this E symbol right here, and this way you can open the channel settings. So now I can play back the audio. And you can see we also have a nice frequency analyzer that shows us the frequencies for this specific channel. Now let's go and add a reverb. So in order to do that, you go to your Inserts tab right here, and you click on one of these free slots. And here you get a drop-down menu that has all the plugins that are installed on your system. Of course, Cubase comes with its own reverbs, its own effect. So let's go to the reverb category right here. See, reverb? And I can click on that, and I can find all the reverbs that are available in Cubase. So let's click on one of them. I'm going to use Reverence. There we go. That's the interface for this reverb, and that's a very beautiful reverb. So this way I can select from a variety of different spaces. This is a convolution reverb, which means that it has impulses of real spaces, so basically you can put your piano in one of those spaces. Let me show you. Let's select Bright Viennese Hall, and you will see I have a nice photo here as well. So now if I play the piano, it sounds like it's in a big hall. Now, of course, the other thing that I can do, because right here we're only listening to the wet signal, which means we're only listening to the reverb return. We need to change this mix value right here and add as much reverb as we want. All the way to 0, it's dry, so we're only going to listen to the dry piano sound, and all the way up, it's just reverb. So I would set it up around 30, something like that. You know, we can play by ear. So let's play it now. Dry. So it becomes much more realistic like this. Before it was really dry, and I did that on purpose. I removed all the reverb from the sound so that I can add it later on. Now, of course, what else can we do? We can add some EQ to the sound. Let me show you. Let's say I want to make the sound a little bit brighter. I can grab my EQ right here, just click on the EQ, and I can just drag and add a little bit of high mids to the sound. Or low end. Now this is the way that you can record audio inside Cubase. Of course, in Cubase you can also use virtual instruments. So let me show you how this works. Again, we go to the plus symbol right here, and I'm going to select Add Instrument Track. instead of audio track. Instrument track, and there we go. Now we have our dialog for our instrument tracks. What can we do right here? We can select an instrument, and there's a big selection in Cubase, but of course you can buy your own instruments if you have a specific virtual instrument that you're interested in. But let's use one of the included instruments in Cubase, and that's Halion SC. There we go. As you can see, you can type the name of the instrument and then Cubase will filter out the selections. So let's add track, and there we go. Here we have Halion Sonic SC, and Halion Sonic SC gives you a wide variety of sounds that you can use in Cubase. And the difference is that this is a software instrument, which means that the sound is generated inside Cubase. You don't need external instruments to play it. You don't need any cables. Everything is happening inside your computer. So let me try and load, let's say for example I want to load a piano sound. Go piano. As you can see, we can filter the results right here, and underneath I have all the piano sounds now. If I hit strings, I'm going to have all the strings right here. So why don't we select a string sound? So let's select the warm strings and pad. And there we go. Now this sound is loaded. I can start playing with it. I can just hit the keys on the virtual keyboard right here. And the sound is generated like this. Very, very easy to select sounds in Cubase. Now, let's say that I want to go back to a piano sound. And let's say I want to start building an arrangement. Let's say I want to start inputting some chords, right? So the way we can do this is let's mute the piano that we recorded previously, and let's go to bar number 1. Now, if you want to start building arrangement in Cubase, there's a very cool feature for this, and it's called chord track. The way you create a chord track is you press this symbol right here, and you select chord track. And it's as easy as that. There we go. That's our chord track. Now what I can do is I can start adding chords to this chord track. Let's say I want to start an idea in the key of D minor. So what I need to do is I click on this pencil tool right here, and let's go and create a chord on bar number 1. So this is the next chord, and this is not really a chord yet. So what I need to do is double click on this chord, and you will see that I will get this editor right here. So I might want to start with a D minor. Now, the great thing in Cubase is that you can audition these chords in real time. So if you want to audition the chords, all you need to do is record enable a virtual instrument, a VST instrument. And in this case, I'm going to use the Halion Sonic that we just created, the piano sound. So I'm going to record enable it, and now when I click on this chord, I can listen to this D minor chord. And if I double click on it, I can change the qualities of this chord. Maybe I want to make it a D minor 7th with a 9th. And maybe I want the bass to be on F, so maybe it's a D minor 7 over F. So let's say I keep it simple, let's say D minor, and let's add another chord, maybe on bar number 2. Now, let's double click on this chord and let's make it into a G minor chord. And I'm gonna get my pencil tool, add another chord right here. And now I'm going to, maybe I don't know what chord I want to add there just yet. But what I can do is I can go to Chord Assistant, and this will give me a few options. So I can go with a very, very low complexity. If I click on 1, I'm going to get a very low complexity. So I'm going to get like a chord that's very usual for this kind of chord progression. So maybe I want to select an A major, which is the 5th of D minor, or maybe I want to select a C major. If I click on 2, I get more complex chord progressions, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I go into jazz territory and really complex chord progressions right there. But this is a very cool tool if you want to start building arrangements. Now there are also a few more options. Next to the list, there's the proximity tab that basically gives you a nice representation of the chords you can get to. So if we are in D minor, you can see that I have all the chords that are nearby, and then the further away I go, I can find the more remote, the more remote chords, the more unexpected chords for that key. The other thing that we have is the circle of fifths that allows you to check out the circle of fifths for a specific key. In this case, let's say C major. And of course, I can change the key. And I have a very nice graphical representation of the circle of fifths for any given key. That's a very powerful educational tool as well. Okay, now let's try and play back those chords that we added. So let's go for D minor, G minor, and maybe I can add, let's go to list, to my editor, and let's add an A minor 7th. And maybe I want to duplicate those chords. I can just select them, hit Alt, and drag, and now I have the same pattern repeating. So let's play this back and see how it sounds like. Now let's say I want to add a very quick drum loop so that it can play along with this piano part. It's super easy. All you need to do is go on this top right corner and show the right zone. And right here I have my instrument racks like that, and I also have a media tab. And all I need to do is go to my loops and go to drum loops. And here I have a selection of drum loops. Now the great thing with these is that they're going to follow the project tempo, so you don't have to find a loop that matches the tempo of your song. This will be already in sync with your song. So let's try and select one. Now in order to have those loops follow your song, you need to make sure that all these 3 buttons are selected. Just make sure that these are selected and you're good to go. Now let's play back the piano part and let's select a few loops and see which one works better with our arrangement. So as you can see, I can audition the arrangement with several loops, see what works best, and select the one that I like. See, this gives a completely different feel. That's really nice. Let's go back and let's say I'm gonna select this one. Now all I need to do is double click. Just maybe I want to start on bar number 1. Double click on this, and there we go. We have our loop right there. So now if I want to duplicate this loop, I can just grab this handle right here in the middle of the audio and just drag. And now I have the loop playing continuously until bar 13. So let's play it back. Now I'm going to show you very quickly how you can use MIDI inside Cubase. We just took a look on the chord track, and that's a very easy way to start creating your harmonies and your arrangements. But if I want to, let's say, record a melody on top of this arrangement, I could just add another instrument track. Let's add another Halion Sonic SE. And maybe this time I want to add a strings line. Maybe this warm strings pad. And now if you have a MIDI keyboard, you can of course trigger those sounds from the MIDI keyboard. Right here I have a small MIDI keyboard and I'm going to play it. Great, so now I can start recording on top of what we played right here. So before I do that, I want to have these chords on this piano track. Let's actually name our channels. Let's call this piano, and let's call this strings. So a very easy way to have this chord track part into the piano is just select all these chords, right? Just drag, click and drag, and then just copy them and then just drag them on the piano part. And now we have a MIDI part right there. Super easy. Now the piano has these chords already there, so I can play it. And on top of that, I can record the strings part with my MIDI keyboard. Let's hit record. And there we go. Now we just recorded a MIDI part. So if I double click on this part, you will see that I have my MIDI notes right there. And if I made a mistake, I can of course change the notes after the fact. So let's say I want to turn this G into an A. I can just drag and turn this into an A. Or I can change the length of the notes. It's that easy. And of course I can view a score for the parts that I've just recorded. Let's check out the score for this piano part. So in order to do this, you only need to select the parts and then go MIDI and open the score editor like this. And you can see the notes of the piano part. Now of course if I want to make this a little bit better, I can go to Quick Stuff Setup and basically select a few options. I can turn this into a piano split, which will make it look like a piano score, and that's much better. Now I have the clefs, I have the treble clef, and I have the bass clef, and everything is there, and it's more neat. So there we go. Now we have recorded our strings parts, we also have recorded our piano parts, and we also have an audio drum loop right there that's included in Cubase 9.5. It's in the content. So let's say you want to export this as an MP3 or as a WAV file. All you need to do is just select the parts that you want to export, like this. Let's say I want to export up to this bit right here, and not until the end of this drum loop. And then I'll give you like a small tip, like a shortcut. Just press P on your keyboard, and then immediately you get the left and right locators. See, these are the locators. These will determine the length of your track. So if you select an event and press P, then the locators will move to cover this event. Now in order to export this selection as an MP3 or a WAV file, you go File, Export, Audio Mixdown. And in this case, let's call this ISM Webinar. And I have a few options right there. I can set my sampling rate, my bit depth, and of course my file format. If you want to export this as a WAV file for the optimum quality, select WAV file. But you can also export this straight to MP3. And here you can select the quality of the MP3 file. Then hit export, and Cubase will export the file for you. Now, of course, there's another option that's very cool. If you go to post-process, you can immediately upload your song to SoundCloud. So if you select this, then Cubase will take you straight to SoundCloud and it will upload your song right there. Alright, thanks so much for joining us on this webinar on how to start creating music in Cubase. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I see you soon. Bye-bye.